Welcome back. Bienvenue de retour.
Welcome back.
Très heureux de vous accueillir pour
Happy
cette
to
dernière partie
have you with us for the very
du
last
Forum
part of our annual Forum 2020. I hope that you spent a pleasant day, that you were able to attend a number of conferences and debates. We have attended everything, and I can tell you these were very exciting times, exciting moments with some very nice speeches and a lot of content. And I think the important thing is content, specific, hands-on content. That's what we wanted to give you today. Content, hands-on, to generate a positive impact. You will remember that we stressed the people part. For us, this was extremely important. If I were to summarize before we move on to our last guest for today, there were four moments: the social and solidarity economy. We saw these beautiful examples of companies, this exercise in reforestation, the great initiatives that exist with many companies, social and solidarity companies at our doorstep that we very often don't see. 40,000 people working there in Luxembourg, 14 million across Europe. Very often we don't want to see them. They are there, but we don't want to see them. That's some food for thought for all of us. Then we talked at length about what happened with the COVID, which was just an extension of this digital crisis, or this new digital era we are living through with infobesity. We spent a lot of time on this. You got two workshops, two panels with more than 10 speakers in the second one who told us about what can be done, how should we proceed to avoid digital indigestion, how we can overcome this hyperconnectivity and to give our brain some rest. And this project Alpha Philosophy is accompanying you if you want to manage these matters. Then the new generations, our last topic, the new generations which are looking for a meaningful life. They are with us on our doorstep, looking at us critically, and they want independence, they want to take initiatives, they also want to be respected, that their ideas be respected, full of values and ecology. They want themselves to have a meaning, and we should have a meaning too. If I try to look at the red thread going through the afternoons in this morning's conversations, it's the quest for meaningfulness. Meaningfulness is a word that is very much often used, but it's still prominent today. If I look at what is happening in our societies, the new economic models with social and solidarity companies, and how do we build the bottom line. Jean-Louis Renaud yesterday evening told us there is a way to build the bottom line differently by putting in more content, more substance, a virtuous bottom line, a green, a responsible, a sustainable bottom line. These things are possible, but there needs to be the will to do so. When we talk about meaningfulness, when we talked about infobesity, how far should we push? How far should we push connectivity, reactivity, responsiveness? Give some private life some space versus professional life. This is extremely important, how to develop yourself. And this brings us to the new generations. The new generations, how do we make sure that they can join us? And how can we avoid that they leave us too quickly? And here again, we heard the results of surveys that were presented, but also beautiful examples of Decathlon and their colleagues who've showed how a company can work with a very flat hierarchy, leaving more room to the entrepreneurial spirit. And here again, values coming back again. So around us, we are there are events around us that remind us every day that something is not going right, whether it's COVID or our disappearing forests across the globe, all these wildfires in California, from San Francisco, which was red yesterday. The sky was red in San Francisco, down to San Diego. The whole coast is on fire. without mentioning 10 million trees that are being cut every day. These record heat waves everywhere in Europe. Yesterday, in France, the temperature on the 14th of September above 30 degrees centigrade. I was talking about the trees earlier on. In Luxembourg, more than 50% of our trees are dying. Our forest is in a bad state. You can see that in our magazine. There's an article in our magazine. We have all these reminders permanently around us. But we need to be optimistic. There are solutions. Solutions exist. Entrepreneurs, people are showing us the way forward. People are showing us how we can do things, alternatives. They're showing us how we can act differently to attract young people, not to suffer from infobesity, and try to find new economic models, but also in existing models make it possible to do things sustainably. So these things exist, they are available, the models are there, they're ready, but are we ready to look at them? If we are surrounded by phenomena that we don't like, and nobody can say that what is happening currently is pleasant, if the solutions exist, why are we not using them? Where is the barrier that prevents us from acting? Is it a lack of means? I don't think so. Just look at the means that the government put on the table for the COVID crisis. These are hundreds of billions that are being spent if necessary. So when there is an emergency, the means are available. In companies, it's exactly the same. When there is an emergency, the means are made available. So it's not a problem of means. Is it a problem of opportunity? I don't think so either. Because clearly, we know all these models, these social solidarity companies, this way of doing these compensations. So if it's not a problem of means and not a problem of opportunity, is it a problem of values, of courage? A lack of courage? I'm not going to go any further because our speaker, who has just arrived, is probably going to give you perhaps a lesson in courage, a lesson or a few indications on how you can change a fate, a destiny, how you can seize an opportunity. He always says he was not lucky, but he took the opportunity. He seized the opportunity. So thank you very much for attending this Forum 2020. I hope that since you have the means and the opportunity, probably, and you are going to move to action, following your values, and I leave you in the company of Ryadh Sallem and Nancy Thomas for our big conversation tonight. Thank you very much and see you soon.
Merci, Christian.
Thank you, Christian. We have a multiple champion here tonight for our big conversation, our big interview in the Sustainability Forum. You have lots of titles, swimming 15 titles, champion of France, the relay record in basket, you're a champion with the Paris club, triple national champion in the national team, more than 5 participation in the Paralympics, wheelchair basketball and wheelchair rugby. But you're not a champion like the others, and we're going to see. You're also extremely active in the associations and an entrepreneur in social and solidarity economy. Your path of resilience is shining a light on our vulnerability today. You have some strong, inspiring messages and a life philosophy. Ryadh Sallem, welcome. One cannot understand your trajectory without starting at the beginning. You were born in Monastir in 1970 in Tunisia. Thalidomide that your mother took during her pregnancy, which is dangerous because it produces congenital diseases, changed your destiny. You didn't have any legs and part of your hands were missing. At the age of 2, you arrive in France for a number of operations, from hospitals to institutions. You didn't have the same cards for your life, but this has forged a personality. Ryadh, you have the floor. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I was listening to your introduction. I was imagining that lots of people were going to applaud after what you were saying here, coming right from your heart. So, the floor is mine. You said a lot already. You have described my trajectory, my life, and my life in hospitals and re-education centers. What I was explaining, it will be repetitive for those who were there yesterday evening, but those who were not lucky enough to attend our dinner, I'm going to repeat myself. Part of my career, sports career, was not right from the start something positive. It was built little by little in the re-education centers, rehabilitation centers. The boys that were too rowdy would go to sports, and those who were too calm would also be sent to the sports. And my passion was basketball. So I had a lot of difficulties because I was told to play basketball, you needed hands. So they sent me to swimming, because swimming, I did have the means. So I was gifted for swimming, but I was not competitive. I was not aware of this strength, of this value of sports and what it's going to offer me in my life. But it was nice because I was able to get out of the institution and to travel. And at the time, what happened is that we had the Rotary Club, I don't remember, or the Lions Club, offering to take us out of the institution, and I discovered jugglers in the winter circus. And then the penny dropped. If it was possible to put some plates on your nose, then it would be possible to play basketball for me. And I trained to do so. So destiny can change, can take a U-turn if you dare not to let your dream go. There is a quotation by Boris Cyrulnik who says those who want to become the authors of their destiny, they are deciders because they decided nothing about their childhood. Do you recognize yourself in this analysis of resilience? What's your definition of resilience? Yes, I recognize myself because part of our destiny is not in our hands. As he says very brilliantly, what is surprising is that, I always take this example, in the re-education centers, the dinners and re-education was very painful and it was difficult. And when I started doing sports, and I really got into sports, I wasn't hurting any longer, not as much as in re-education. But the surprising thing is that I would accept the pain because I chose it. It's not the pain that chose me, but I chose the pain. And choosing your destiny changes everything. And in this part, when you talk about resilience, this is a reality, a very strong reality, to tell yourself that you're a master of your destiny. When I was an adolescent, I had the choice. Either I would shoot myself in the head or I would move forward. So you reach a point where you switch from one side to the other. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, but I had one certainty. I knew what I did not want to do with my life. That's how I moved forward. And this concept of resilience, so happy those who accept the life as it is and not what it could be without being a fatalist. So I accepted, when I accepted that my body was different, that through sports, swimming helped me quite a lot because you are naked in front of everybody with all your scars and everything. This gave me peace. Sports brings a performance with your body. People look at your handicap and people look at you as a diminished person. When you do sports, it's your physical performance that counts. So we had this contradiction in terms. And resilience is exactly that, to accept that you cannot change and do everything and not give up one single second on what you can change. Now, with perseverance, I think we can call it perseverance, you participated in the largest international championships. And it's surprising, it's astonishing when we look at the pictures. Look at some of your pictures here.
Ryadh Sallem, et oui, Ryadh, voilà, le rugby fauteuil.
C'est ça aussi.
Dans toute son expression. Bien marqué et derrière, eh bien, percuté là par le fauteuil de Shimakawa.
Au terme de ce deuxième rendez-vous dans cette poule de jeux.
C'est une fierté pour vous, ces
Are you
images?
proud of these images? What did you find in the stadiums and in the swimming pools? Why is the sport such a big challenge for you? Well, I was telling you earlier on, I'm not proud at all. I put my pride somewhere else, in my success, in the success of those that we support and who overcome, those who've lost their smile, that we give the smile back to. But sports helped me to come to peace with myself. Particularly at this level, when you achieve a very high level, you discover the world. My first games in Barcelona, I didn't know so many countries existed, so many cultures, so many religions existed, so many perfumes and colors and languages. So it opens your mind, it blows your mind. And where sports brought me to is this capacity. I always ask myself, why do the sports bring people together so much? I understood very quickly that sports is a peaceful war. What brings the people together on this planet? It's quite often wars, bringing many people together, world wars. And sports, every 4 years, is a little peaceful war. Very few people die, except the egos of some persons, but you come out stronger. So I was almost surprised. You need to confront yourself with yourself. You need to prove things to yourself, but it's much nicer to do these things without any fatality. So this peaceful war, sports, has always been a passion for me. It's a fact. It's a celebration. It's a war. War brings people together, and sports too. Today, you're very much involved in the organization of Paralympics in 2024. What is your mission there in this organization? I'm the ambassador of Paris 2024. I'm proud. I'm proud of that. Ambassadors, so we are a number of ambassadors, those who have a history in sports of our country, are invited to be ambassadors, and there is a selection of athletes to become ambassadors. In my ambassador part, I am a militant. I support programs, a program which is Generation 2024, with the Rectorate of Paris, to promote these values among young people of these games, and a program called ESS 2024. And this is also a program that is very close to my heart. And I'm also the godfather of the Paralympics Committee, the French Paralympics Committee, where we try to move forward with new values for Paris 2024. What is the philosophy behind these games? What is being implemented? What is your role on the ground? Do you go to schools? How does it work? We go to schools. We have a number of meetings on the vision, on the number of strategies. Athletes are very much involved. These games are magical for me because they associated the Paralympics to the Olympics, and they took into consideration the values that we promote, the environment, the social element. And today we have the same identity for Olympics and Paralympics, while before it used to be separate. We have the same logo, and I find this is great. We, in the ESS, the games gave 25% to ESS, to the social and solidarity economy. This has never happened before. The games will be in neighborhoods that need a new breath, so participative processes. Now, together with the channels, a platform was set up, which is an association which promotes the social and solidarity economy in those countries, the SSE, and the companies of the SSE can bid either together or they are presented to big multinationals that are used to bidding because it's a number of millions of euros, so you need to be big enough to participate.
Du coup, les grandes entreprises.
So these big companies are getting involved. How do they participate in the social and solidarity economy, the Paralympics? It's in the specifications. They need to take into account the social and solidarity economy automatically. So either they already have programs and projects that are implementing, or they're going to associate themselves, ally themselves with smaller organizations, small and medium-sized businesses, which are very small boats bringing this big liner into port, the big liner of the social and solidarity economy. That's the dynamics. It was a mad bet. It's not easy to say let's take the games, one of the biggest events on the planet, and introduce social and solidarity economy. That wasn't easy. Many large parts of our economic model is based on profitability, and here we move the cursor from profitability to the social aspects. We are going to judge these games on other aspects, not only the costs, not purely financial or only medals. There is a heritage, and the heritage is what we are building, is what we are developing with everybody. So we talked a lot yesterday and today about this business. Do you think that with these games, you as an entrepreneur, are these concepts that will be an alternative in the future in the economics? These games are a launching platform. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice if we keep this economic model, which is producing death. In a few decades, we will no longer exist. We need to come back to an economic model of life, which respects cycles, which respects the rhythm of life, which is not the case today. Today, it's only about profit. We need to come back to the farmer's spirit, common sense. According to the seasons, you eat these vegetables or these fruits, which would allow life to regenerate itself. This is no longer the case today. With chemicals and fertilizers, things are being forced, and I compare this to sports. The athletes that use doping, of course, they move ahead very quickly, but they rarely live to see their pension age. And I have this feeling that we are doping our economy with poison. We're doping our earth and our water and our air. It's no longer possible. The world of the economy is something that allowed us to develop ourselves, to grow up, to have a certain comfort in our life. If suddenly you get inverse effect and you get killed by the system and you get sick, I don't see the interest. If it's just to make money for the sake of making money, it doesn't have any sense. So I believe that this is the economy of the future, and I hope that many people, those who have the power today to decide, will be actors in this change and not just force our destiny to keep on holding on to this economic model of the last century. It doesn't have any meaning today. It's senseless. We didn't have all this knowledge before. Today we have the knowledge, so we are all responsible. Inclusion, integration is a very important word in your personal life, in your career as a sportsman and as an entrepreneur. One of your quotation, if the other doesn't look at you, you don't exist. So your fight is a fight for recognition, for people with a disability, and for human beings, all of them. And I would like us to look at a few images of DEFISTIVAL, which is a French band for Challenge Festival.
Quand on acquiert une capacité, une autonomie et du bonheur, à quel moment on le fait pour les personnes qui ont été dans la galère à un moment donné?
Donc donner toute sa place.
So give people some room, also that for people who are different, convicts, people at the margin of society, people who feel different, they need to find a place in a society that exclude them. Is that a society that wants to hide its vulnerabilities? How can you be proud and say that you're a strong society if you have people that just because our system has become selfish or elitist, people who are being left aside? I consider that if you put somebody into jail, you failed. If somebody's on the street, if it's not their will, because I also respect the nomads and people who don't want to get into the system, who want to stay out of the system. But on the other hand, there are many people who are at the margins of society, excluded by society, who are not participating in this beautiful symphony that we are being told, that all the politicians are telling us, this ideal world, and something is wrong. There's a lack of sincerity. So every human being is important, I think, because I was told that you shouldn't do to others what you wouldn't like them to do to you. And I see what we are living today on an everyday basis. This can change overnight. And if I'm alive, it's because people cared for me, cared for others, who invested in solidarity, invested in health. And this is why today I'm sitting here with you. And in many countries, unfortunately, I see this policy doesn't exist. People die, people suffer. And the real challenge for human beings is to reduce these inequalities and this pain and try to move forward. This is where we see a real society and the power of a real society. It's not the size of its bombs, but the size of its universities and hospitals. Do you think that the crisis we're going through with COVID was a trigger in that respect, and that people are becoming more aware that each of us is vulnerable and vulnerabilities are multiple and people not take that into account? Well, I see there are two camps. One camp that says, well, look, I need to buy, I need to spend, I will wait the next opening of the shop. And some others are asking themselves questions on this capacity to be confronted with a virus, a climate change. I don't have the impression that today the world has become aware of the message that the universe is sending us, that nature is sending us. So I think we still need there's still a lot of work to do. It would be a pity. I don't know who said this, a Tibetan monk explaining that you either learn by pain or by wisdom. We haven't reached that point yet. We're still far away from that point. A reflection on of our society to take care of its citizens and go out of individualism to understand that interdependence is important and cultivate it. How do you see that after what you've just said? On the economy of the future, of the power, to organize the economy around our life and not vice versa. I have a very basic view of this. I reduce things to their simplest denominator. We have a time on this planet, a very short time. Our force today, our strength today, as humans, as compared to all the other living species, is our intelligence that we have compensated, that enable us to create everything we have, cars and planes and boats. They're only prostheses. If we believe individually that we are superior to nature and to the others, I don't know where we are heading. And if today, individually, we can live what we are living through, it's because we've organized a whole system collectively that makes that possible, that makes it possible to live your faith, your sexuality, your passions. If tomorrow all this system, all these things are being destroyed, it's very fragile. I don't know what's going to happen. Look into other countries, there are dictatorships. It's dramatic. Of course, we need to be aware as an individual we are important, but we're also important as a collective. And I had a discussion earlier on with people on identity. We need to have a multidimensional identity. As a person, I have my identity, but in a collective, in a country, in a commitment, I have another identity. And you need to find this right balance between our identities and harmonize our contradictions. Because, yes, of course, I would like to save the environment, but I'm still driving my car. So how can we reduce? Nothing is perfect in this world. And Perfection will never exist. The ideal will never exist. However, we can reduce the negative impact. And this is what we need to find, harmonize. So I would like to spend my money. I don't want to be bothered by certain people. But then, of course, I also need to contribute on other aspects. I don't know how things are happening in Luxembourg, but when I see that democracy is dying in France and that we are more than 50% of people don't bother to vote, it frightens me because the people are no longer aware of the fact that this collective, well, they criticize the politicians, but it's not easy to be a politician. And I tell people, instead of not voting, get committed, get involved, participate. If there's something you don't like, do it yourself. Stop criticizing, or have a critical spirit, but do something. You are going to see it's not so easy, but if people of goodwill, who are sincere, massively go into politics, then I think that things can change. If we really have this awareness, and if we want to preserve our small selfish life, let's make sure that the collective allows us to have this small selfish life. Let's be smart, selfish people. If tomorrow everybody can eat and drink and can get educated and experience passions and protect their health, I think I won't be in danger. Nobody's going to attack me to steal this or that from me or attack me. But if there are people who lack things, these things we lack cause a disequilibrium, an imbalance, and this causes violence. Where there is violence, it's in the neighborhoods where things are difficult, where people don't have access to this comfort in life that others have. If the objective is not to have poor people or to make sure that all these people can achieve the same level that we have, this will only increase the overall level. A rising tide lifts all ship. If we have fewer poor people, it doesn't make you less rich. It just preserves social peace. And I think that's what we need to think about, to avoid having more and more people who go hungry, who have to steal or attack other people to feed themselves. I know it's always difficult because I very often talk about ecology. We like to be superior to others, but it's not a good formula, I think. And all those who have the power should think about this. Is my ecology is more positive by helping others or by crushing others? The world is there to change, and we are all responsible for it. I would now like to open the discussion, because we agreed to give some room to questions, and we had an exchange between ourselves. But now we would like to take some questions sent by the public. So I tried to select a few questions. I saw one on going into life with greater constraints, but does that push you to creativity and innovation in your everyday life more than others? Can you repeat the question? I have to. When you start life with constraints, greater constraints than others, does that foster innovation and creativeness? No idea. It's nature. Some people don't need difficulties to be successful or to do incredible things. And others, well, it forces them. It forces their destiny. If you have difficulties, if you try to find solutions, that, of course, will make you stronger. It's an element of answer to your question. But I think I see many people with disabilities. We are the exceptions, we sports people, those people who succeed. But I see many people who suffer. And the difficulties of life, of accidents, of bad health. And you have a lot of exchanges with them, yes. Then it's human nature. And it's also, I was lucky to meet the right people, seize the opportunity, because if you start at zero, you always have some luck at the beginning. Some people are born with a bad hand. I was part of them. I was just intelligent enough to seize the opportunity when I met people, to listen to them, be attentive, and reposition my vision of the world. I saw one question: what is your next challenge? My next challenge Oh, we have a whole raft of challenges. My challenge is in the plural. In sports, of course, there are the games. Tokyo, I don't know whether in the French team. I see if I can get a seat on the French team. Then there are the games 2024. That's very close to my heart. I also have a program, Educapcity, for young people, that we try to deploy in many cities in France to make children aware of the luck we have, how lucky we are in a country like ours, and make them understand the ecosystem. There is this digital world today that goes so quickly. The information, too much information, it's very difficult to ask the right questions, have a critical mind, have a vision. We're very quickly pushed by news all the time, by the digital world. And people get many fake news. What I like in this program is that we really connect children and professionals and people, so it opens their minds. And this is a commitment that is very close to my heart, because youth is our future. And then later, the economy of life. I promised a Lemurian that I was going to try to save the forest, but it's not easy when you live in big cities like Paris. And ecology is something very important for me. Why do we not succeed? Why the will is there? And the power is like alcohol. Some people are happy in power, others are sad. And those who have talents and who are timid, who are shy, have a very low ego, how can we help them? Those who have talents, and sometimes because they get power drunk, how can we bring them down so that we can work together instead of always being in competition with one another? How are you doing that? That sounds interesting. Yeah, we have an association called Éclore to create this institution of egology so that we can rebalance the forces. I see this in the association. I still don't understand why we are all in competition, why we are all there to try and achieve the same objective. Why not getting together? And these are questions in my mind. And I know that I see this myself. I like sports, collective sports. I see the problems that we have to position ourselves in a group, in a team. But if we manage to create this culture of cooperation instead of competition and put it in the right place, then we will succeed in something great together. So these are projects that are very close to my heart. And then since there is this ecological urgency, we really need to fight for this so that we can continue to eat, to drink, and breathe without getting poisoned.
I've seen another question concerning activities as IMS, well, network sports in companies can lower barriers as well. Are you active there as well? Yes, absolutely. Within companies, we're talking about performance. So they have the same code. If you have a disabled person, for instance, practice in sport, you can understand immediately the capacity to perform. And if you have co-workers in a situation of disability in sports activities, our approach is to show what's possible instead of the difficulties. A lot of companies have an easy approach to explain difficulties, but we want to show opportunities. You have specific equipment here, very expensive material, so we share here and have them practice sports in such an environment. We can show the importance of right equipment to be at high performance levels. Sports is a good image here. It's a metaphor and a tool which is indispensable to awaken spirits. We always have the vision of sports being only about competition, but it's just a few percentage points of all things in the area of sports. It's about health. It's about fight against exclusion. Sports actually is more pacifying than bringing up a competition. Other questions here from our mailbox. What's your definition for happiness? Well, happiness is often linked to others. I'm quite impressed. when I see, well, about this matter. Happiness is about being happy in the present moment, which is not always easy. Your brain is always active. It's about the life philosophy. When I see people observing insects or things like that, or people being passionate about music, for instance, or people having a multitude of passions or curious about everything, and I see how happy they are with it, that's really fantastic. So happiness is a really personal matter. I cannot say that my happiness is this or that. It's it didn't work out right from the start. It had to be developed in the course of time. If you spend some time together, I love to spend time with my spiritual dad, go and have a nice meal in a restaurant, have an exchange. This is moments of happiness and getting involved in projects as well, commitment, the simple things of life, actually. Yes. I don't know, maybe as an echo to your track as an entrepreneur, we didn't talk about that a lot. What can we do in the future to favor inclusion and social and solidarity economy? Maybe a few examples of what you are doing as an entrepreneur. As I said yesterday, I had lots of difficulties. When you're active in the social area, not in the real business, and both exclude each other. But now having the official status as a company in the SSE, the double identity is put aside. It's a matter of mindset. I was active in the humanitarian area, and I could see that going to the other side of the planet and try to save people is a complicated matter. And I had one talent, being my skill to get people involved in projects, and this company has become for me a social business. My first humanitarian action, allow people to get a salary, fill their fridge, spend a holiday away, implement all their dreams. This is great. Give this opportunity to people, and this is of fundamental importance in my view. I have a lot of difficulties with a pure and simple economy. That's the only matter today, apparently. So bottom line figures, and that's it. I am not against the capitalist model as such, but I'm against what it has become. Initially, the Dutch Protestants, if I remember correctly, wanted to have profits generated by capital and open this up to their co-workers as well. And each and every time a very good idea is being misdirected in the course of time, and has nothing to do with what it was originally. So bio or organic capitalism is okay, but capitalism practiced by raptors is not my thing. So it has to be human, and people have to be dignified in their work. Dignity is a really important matter in my view. How can we make sure that the majority of activities becomes dignified? And in the area of social and solidarity economy, we have no problems to go and take people crushed by failure by their hands and lead them back. It's about making money, yes, but it's not the only priority. We want to create jobs and make sure that people work in dignity as well and can fulfill their dreams working. In our balance sheets, we should not consider our co-workers as a passive element, but as an asset, rather. Well, you were talking about this, and I was wondering how workers can motivate their company to become more inclusive, and that's exactly what you just said now. How can they motivate their employers to change their approach? We have 45% of students in the major schools decided to not play along the habitual rules of this economic model, and if there's no involvement in social and environmental matters, they don't want to work anymore in the big companies. So quite often things might change here, because we obviously need these spirits and this intelligence and these opinions coming up, and in a few years' time, this will probably even be the majority on a quest for sense. 45% of all members of staff right now don't find any real sense in their work and are not happy in their professional activities. So create something for others with all the marketing side, advertisement, selling dreams. If the persons producing this don't believe in it, it's really bizarre. So we have to find a new sense for it all. We have a responsibility as well as a company. We create money, but not only that, we are creating a richness as well. There's money in it, but not only a monetary approach. So we have to broaden the vision of the future companies with a real role within society as well. All the major spirits creating innovation always had something quite generous towards the outer world and towards the individual as well. And now we have the impression that the individual has become just an object in the consumption approach, whereas they should rather be an object for passion. We're talking about money, but people should have an opportunity to fulfill their passion. It sounds like a little bit like a Miss France competition, but yeah, it's really about that as well, the human aspect. Do we learn more in victory than in defeat? Well, you learn in both situations. Mandela always said, I'm never losing, I'm learning or advancing. So it's a sentence that really corresponds to my approach as well to life. Spirituality is useful for you in daily life? Well, spirituality helps in the daily life indeed. In my case, I have difficulties sometimes when I see religious wars and different ideals clashing. All this spirituality should be love. What did we miss? I don't understand how it could come so far. Why do we have so much hatred? Normally it's the same God for them all. Talking about religion, talking about spirituality. I feel connected to nature, universe. I have this feeling that we all are multidimensional, and I know why. In the spirit and in the hearts of people, we have cut off ourselves from this elevator, and all stairs have been shut down as well. There has to be a multidimensional approach for us as individuals, our family, our territory, our country, our planet. And if we manage to have this multidimensional identity anchored in ourselves, it would be the right level of spirituality, because we would understand all these systemic elements being interconnected. And this very positive philosophy, there's a parallel here. We can see people blocked in your logo here, Educapcity on your bag. How do you inspire young people? What kind of exchange do you have? Well, Educapcity, what is it exactly? Educapcity is a mechanism where we go to schools, so it's a measure. We're talking about awareness building for disability and the promotion of diversity. Why do we do that? Well, we could observe that there's a separation. Disabled persons have been put into isolated institutions and this whole inclusion programs. But how can you include persons if you're afraid from the unknown? So we have to reduce the levels of fear amongst children already. And as we do for companies, we have them play together, an exchange in total transparency, and the questions are quite vigorous at times, of course. What struck me was the fact that children had strange games, playing wrestling in the stairs, or being disabled, as hard as it is in society. And if we can understand about it, all of it, children, well, there's a life after disability as well, because there's a lot of children still having difficulties in understanding and grasping difference. We have hyper-stereotyped these groups of society. I don't know what the ideal is, but they project themselves into something that doesn't exist, and some people commit suicide because they don't feel right in their situation, and this failure is the end of their world. But failure is part of life. It has a constructive part to it as well, and we want to deliver a positive message here in an intelligent world, diversity is the standard, and it's good. And you have to accept your own diversity before you accept others. There's a whole system behind this, but this is the global approach. Make sure that we don't want to die just because we have red dots on the face, or we're too fat, or too skinny, or whatever. And that's already a treasure hunt, actually. We go into institutions, companies, you go to police, in a company, an association, other institutions, and they can ask all kinds of questions behind a uniform. There's a human being, and in the future, he or she will be wearing this uniform, and there's a whole fantasy being built up here. I was quite shocked when we put together this questionnaire for this in preparing the program. We've been doing this for a few years now, and the first question for policemen was, how many people did you kill? So maybe some of them just killed a fly in their whole career. It's maintain peace and not kill people. So in certain neighborhoods, these are the ideas that are circulating, and public education activities with elected members in parliament or elsewhere and institutions. So this opens up horizons in all settings, and we try to have these values, these human values, respect for others and yourself, and respect difference and diversity as well, which are the actual richness of our societies. Ryadh, this leads us to the end of our interview. Time flies when you're having a good time, and I don't know whether we can take up another question, but maybe one from my side, allowing you to conclude. What would you like to tell us at the end? What conclusion is yours? What is your message you want to deliver? Well, as I said beforehand, the definition of humanity used to be an element of spirituality. You bury dead persons with rituals, but actually we have a description of a difference. What constitutes humanity is not just that, to have this element of spirituality linked to the afterworld. No, we have to treat nicely the most vulnerable members of our society. We have a role to support and help others because they're ill or old or young, with maybe having an intellectual or psychological deficiency or any kind of disability, and to be at their side and help them is our strong point. We have to take into account our weaknesses, and that makes us strong. And I have lived this my whole life. If we abandon that kind of vision, I said beforehand, it's not about having the biggest bombs to make to strengthen us in the world, but others have armies and bombs, but people are starving and they want not to stay in these countries. The population, they want to come to our countries. How can we get back to this basic, realistic approach? And all economies are taking up this element of economy of life and not of death. So use our knowledge for that purpose. Today we are able to build skyscrapers touching the sky, to build planes flying faster than any other species of life, submarines. We are capable to do all this, but what's their purpose? Just to kill each other? I don't get it. I don't get it. All this intelligence, all this energy, spent for that? If tomorrow objective is to say that we will stop hunger in the world, and all our strength and all our armies are directed towards this objective, to avoid that people die starving, or avoid that forests disappear, not blue helmets, but green helmets for the UN forces to protect the environment, something really supporting our future, our common future, and not forget about the fact that we're just spending a short period of time here on Earth. And what do we want to leave behind once we leave this planet? If we're not aware of this all the time, what will this planet become? And so my message would be, let's not forget about our strengths coming out of our weaknesses. And we are all disabled persons living here for a short period of time. We will all get older and lose our autonomy. And if we don't act together, we will not be able to participate in this common life any longer. I spent 20 years of my life in institutions and hospitals, but there should be a choice for everyone. I don't want to spend another 20 years in a medicalized structure. So for that, we have to build this new world, allowing me to drive around with my scooter and my white dreadlocks then and lead my children to parks or to attractions or to museums. But it's like in a company, if there's no sense, it's just waiting for your death. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. There's no positive approach. So what I'd rather do is contribute, and we are responsible individually for this contribution. Tomorrow you will not run upstairs like you used to do. So we have to build this future as well with less impact on our environments. We have created solutions for all these matters. Thank you, Ryadh, for being with us here. This would deserve the gratefulness and applause by a huge crowd. But, you know, they're online today. Thank you for this. Thank you to Marie, who could not join us here today, and not to be involved in this discussion with Ryadh. I hope this was an inspiration for all of you. Several hundred people were connected all day long in a different format. So thank you to all the participants, all the members of our audience, and the IMS team for the organization of this event. Thank you to our partners, the whole technical staff. And we have made sure that this new format, never seen before, was a success. And maybe we have a double format next year with physical presence and with digital streaming. And don't forget to be happy. Thank you very much.